Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
Hey, welcome. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, everyone. And before we even get started, I'd like to wish you, Krista, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just another day, when you get our age.
Right. But I just, it's like we've been so busy today doing stuff. I haven't been able to say nothing.
I understand. Believe me, it's all good. Hold on.
It's nice to see you and say happy birthday.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
But you can actually be safe in knowing you'll never be old as me.
That's true. That's true.
Just say that. You'll never be old as me.
That's true. Very true. Very, very true. Hold on one second. Our guests have an issue getting connected. So let me text her back.
Yeah, she's having a little bit of technical difficulty trying to get in. We don't know. We've tested on our end. It seems to be fine. Yeah. So we're hoping she can get it resolved soon.
Yeah. If not, you guys are stuck with Brandy and I tonight. I'm sorry.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a Friday night.
Yeah. Right. Anyway.
Right.
Okay.
I mean.
So I just texted her and she's going to try something else. Anyway, Brandy, we have some announcements, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we're going to blow this wide open tonight, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, save the date, September 19th and 20th of 2025. Of course, the Blondes and Booze, Texas from Porch, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Truth or Tinfoil. Oh my gosh, we got everybody. Paranormal Paul, everybody. We're putting on a conference, everybody. We're putting on a conference.
Yep.
It has all been done. Everything is pretty much set except for the minor details. We're going to have a meet and greet Friday night. We are going to have a conference on Saturday. We are going to have a ghost hunt Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And
a celebrity ghost hunt.
Yes. Almost all of our speakers that we have communicated with on this are coming. They're going to ghost hunt with us, whether they be cryptid, UFO, or paranormal. Everybody's coming. So this ought to be a great night, and there will be limited tickets. I'll let Krista explain that in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the list of who's coming.
Let's break it loose.
I do. Okay, hold on. I got to get the list because it's extensive. So let me get the list out. Let me find it first. There it is. Okay.
Paul, I see Paul is in chat too. And Paul, you're welcome to hop on too, because our guest is having issues. So if you want to hop on with us, you're welcome to come on and talk about
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right.
So
Freaky.
not
Brandy
only
has a hit list. Do you see Freaky's comment? Brandy has
You're on it, Freaky. Freaky, you're on it. Just saying. I'm just kidding. No, just joking. Really, honest. You're not on it. I do have a list though.
You do.
All right. So let me get with the conference list. Okay. These are the ones who will be speaking, and let's go forth. Greg Ogles. We have Haunted Souls and Haunted Garage. Now they will be bringing, I know of one haunted vehicle. They may bring more, but I know of one haunted vehicle that they are bringing. We have Ronald Murphy, Lady Anne Celine, Dr. Dean Bertram, which he's going to be one of our UFO guys. We have William Lunsford. We have Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters. We have Josh Hurd from Malvern Manor. We have, get this, Chris Jordan is going to be doing all of our sound, and he is going to be doing interviews throughout the day. You will be on a podcast. I mean, we have all kinds of good stuff. Special celebrity people that we were going to have just to come that are going to be there. Number one is Ken Gerhardt, and then Dana Stricker, which is a psychic medium. She's also a UFO experiencer. She will be there. She will be doing readings all day. We have more coming. This is just what we have right now, which is super exciting. I'm going to turn it over to Krista right now, and she's going to talk about the tickets, when they go on sale, how much they are, and go from there.
So tickets will be available December 1st, and they'll be on Eventbrite. Just look for any of our Facebook pages, any of our YouTube shows, anybody from Paul here, Donnie, BMR, Tex, name it, we'll be advertising it. So it'd be easy to find the tickets. It is under Blondes and Booze Eventbrite. However, this is not just Blondes and Booze Conference. It is everybody partaking in it. We just happen to have an Eventbrite account.
Right.
So yeah.
So I do also want to mention the name.
Yes.
It's Crossing Realms Conference.
Yep.
So stay
I
tuned.
love that name.
Keep that in
I
your
love
brain.
that name.
I do too. I do too. Crossing Realms Conference.
Thanks to BMR for the name.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, Bigfoot Michigan Rob comes through with the name, and he's going to be there. Oh my God, we're dragging him from Michigan to Missouri. He's going to be like a fish out of water.
Oh yeah, we're dragging them all. Everybody's coming.
Everybody.
The whole Porch side. Everybody will be there.
Everybody will be there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. And tickets. So let me tell you a little bit about tickets. So it's in Richmond, Missouri, which is about 45 minutes east of Kansas City. So there's lots to do there in Kansas City if you come and stay an extra day or two. So we are actually on Friday night, we are going to do a meet and greet. And we're going to serve you some dinner, probably just some pizza and pop, is kind of what we talked about.
We'll all be wearing our aprons and serving, right?
That's it. Of course. You know it, Paul.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
What if we serve? What if we get aprons and serve?
I'm game.
I'm game for that.
Okay.
We can put that up at the next meeting. Maybe we should.
Yeah, absolutely. So Friday night, that's going to be fun. It's just, it's a time just to get to know everybody. And, you want to sit and have dinner and get to know, say you want to get to know Heather Mosier a little better. Well, you can sit and hang out with her or Josh Hurd or any of them, so that's going to be part of it. All speakers will be there on Friday night. So Saturday is the conference. It's going to start early and probably end a little later. And so for tickets for both Friday night and Saturday are going to be $50 a piece. For just Saturday, if you just want to come to the conference and just for the Saturday portion, just the conference part is $35 a piece. So we tried to make this pretty reasonable, pretty affordable for anybody to come. Saturday night, we have the ghost hunt. And it will be at Ray County Museum. As Brandy said, that most of the speakers are going to be ghost hunting with us. So tickets for that are $75 a piece. And also they will be going on sale on December 1st. So that's just kind of an add-on. And we are only going to sell 16 ghost hunt tickets. Yep. And the reason for that is, when we do these events, usually sometimes we've sold up to 45 tickets for the museum. There's going to be a lot of extra people there with, the whole Porch crew and all of the speakers. So that's why we thought, we'll only do 16 That way it's not super crowded and
Right.
people can mingle and actually do some ghost hunting.
Right. And, hopefully Josh Hurd will bring some of his ghost hunting equipment too. He has some really cool Ghostbusters equipment too. That would be kind of cool to see for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
We'll ask him. We'll say, hey, just bring it. Just bring it. Well, maybe we'll set him up in a room, whatever he chooses, and maybe have him ghost hunt that area all night, and people can just walk by and see what he's doing, maybe participate. That would be pretty cool.
Also, our friend Terry from After Dark Paranormal. She's a very good friend of ours. She is actually going to do the ghost hunt portion. Her team is. So the whole Porch crew, we're going to be exhausted. Terry and her team have graciously offered to run the ghost hunt portion, and they do a great job. I've been on teams with Terry, and she knows what to do and how it works and the whole 9 yards. There will also we'll have like some snacks and stuff available at the ghost hunt as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll make sure you're hydrated and have some snacks, because that's the best part, and
lots of coffee. Yep.
Right, and it's just going to be a blast. Kristen says yes, we're going to be exhausted, but I'm that type of person where I'll sit there in the dark. I'll do that, even exhausted. I will sit there in the dark.
Yeah. Yes. So, Keith, we look forward to meeting you too. That'd be awesome. Be awesome.
That would be awesome. Absolutely.
And Mickey, we hope you do come back. Oh, says she will be doing the conference.
She'll be at the conference. Yep.
Awesome. That'll be great.
Well, she doesn't know she'll do the ghost hunt. She doesn't know she'll do the ghost hunt, but that's okay, sweetheart. We understand with Brandon and everything, but we're going to have other ghost hunters there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be no problem, hun.
Yeah. So it's going to be.
But we'll love to see you at the conference.
Yes. It's going to be a good time because, just like even our guests that we have. So like Ken Gerhardt is not speaking. However, he has a vendor table. And so, you'll be able to go up and talk to him and meet him in person. Same thing with Dana Stricker. And I do believe, Brandy, maybe you can tell me yes or no for sure. Is Dana going to be probably doing readings?
Yes, she will be doing readings all day. Yes.
Okay. Real quick, Keith has a question. I'm assuming conference tickets and ghost hunt tickets are available on one site. Yes, it'll be all under the Blondes and Booze, and we'll share that link out December 1st.
December 1st.
On the
Yep.
1st.
Yes.
So hold on. Our guest is messaging. Let me see if I can see what's going on
And
here.
really, for $50 for 2 days, you can't beat that price with the quality of guests that we have. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then plus, for $50, you can take a tour. Even if you don't go on the ghost hunt and you want a tour where me and Krista go all the time, tours will be available, not all day, but there may be one or two available that you'll be able to go on. Yeah, she'll do a couple of them during that day, and you can learn about the history and love it like we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all fantastic to me. Because some people, they love the history, not the ghosts. I get it. I get it. I love them both, though. So, but you'll be able to see what we're talking about all the time and actually get a real deep feel of what kind of history is in Richmond.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're trying to keep the prices low for the conference because we're trying to give back to Richmond, Missouri, that community. A lot of people do their conferences in big cities and stuff. Well, we're trying to keep it in the smaller communities so they can reap the benefits too, which is nice.
Yeah.
And we are doing our charity for this event is going to be for Ray County Museum because historical preservation is on the top of our list because without history, we're going to be kind of lost.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So maybe real quick, like I said, our guest is having issues. She's, I don't know. It's got to be on her side because we've tried getting on and we come right in. And she's going to keep trying to come in. She thinks it's on her end. And I do too because we've practiced.
That's okay. I think that's okay.
So we can actually talk about a little bit, maybe about like everybody knows Greg Ogles, right? He's one of our favorite people.
Moist.
So,
Oh, he's in chat.
here.
Imagine that. He's in chat.
so Greg is
Yeah.
one of our speakers for the conference. So he should have a couple more documentaries out, at least one more, I hope, by then. And come and meet Greg. So most of you all know him. The next one is Haunted Souls, Haunted Garage. So Brandy and I, they're the ones that we went and did the ghost hunt with, this past weekend. And they're awesome guys, and they're bringing a haunted car. And so how much better can you get, right?
I mean, just to see a haunted car, that would be pretty cool. I've heard of haunted ambulances before, but haunted car, that would be kind of cool.
Right. And they're so much fun too, guys. So like great personalities, like they're awesome. Let's go to the next one.
I mean, you got to think about this too. I don't want to forget Greg out there. Don't forget his newest documentary will be released on January 4th in Cullman, Alabama. Greg, if you're out there, can you put out the link so people can buy tickets? You can come and you can meet us all who's in the documentary.
Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely. We'll all be there too.
Yeah. And then real quick, we'll run through these really quick because our guests did get in. So we'll be right with you, Lynn.
Okay.
Ron Murphy and Anne Celine, they are actually going to be talking, which is really cool, on elementals and the Fae. How cool is that?
Awesome.
I know. We're going to have everything at this conference. We're going to have UFO, all of it. All of it.
So Dr.
Something
Dean,
for everybody.
yeah, as Brandy said, he's going to, do something around the UFO realm, which I'm pretty excited about. A lot of you guys also know William Lunsford. He's been on all of our shows. If you don't know who he is, tune in to Paranormal Paul this Saturday because he is the guest there. He is awesome. His area is Fouke, Arkansas. And Brandy and I have actually went out down that area with him, and he took us to some really neat places that you've seen on the movies. So that was really cool.
Right.
Will Lunsford will be here with us. Heather Mosier, Small Town Monsters. She's a producer, and she's on a lot of theirs. I think she was just on the one the other night about the UFOs with actually Ronald Murphy. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And she's great. She's been on the show numerous times. And then Josh Hurd, Malvern Manor. You guys he's been on all of our shows multiple times. He's a really good friend to us. And
he's a joy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. And you guys, he's got a great big personality too. So you guys will really like hanging with him. Christopher Jordan, he's been on our show, and he is awesome. Like, I mean, him and Jason McLean, they're right there together with the smartness.
Kind of makes you feel stupid sitting around talking with them. You're kind of like, okay.
Yes. But he's
definitely
also
feel like a blonde in that conversation. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yes. He's also very much a great guy. King Gerhard, most of you know who he is. He's a cryptozoologist, and he's on just about every TV show you turn on about the cryptids. And then Dana Stricker, she does a lot with the Kling brothers, and she's really getting out there, and so yeah, fun.
Yeah, and she's just a super great person, and I've not had readings by her because I don't like my friends to do my own readings. There's just something that I just don't. But she did readings for other people, and they have been spot on. I've watched her doing galleries and all. It's just she's amazing. She is simply amazing. Yes. Very down to earth too. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, our guest has shown up here. She got over her troubles. I'm going to bring her. Yay! Hello.
Oh, she's on mute.
She's muted.
She's on mute.
You're muted.
Unmute her.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I
was clearing my throat before, and I didn't want to have me clearing my throat on while you guys were talking. So anyway, I don't know. I finally had to leave my computer and go to my phone. So I tried that, and that finally seemed to work. I am so sorry that has never happened before, but I
It
just
happens.
assume that sometimes, that we're going to be talking about some real juicy stuff that, as you know, they like to be acknowledged but not exposed. And so I just figure there's a little bit of trickery going on there. So we won. They did not win. But thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I was so excited and really looking forward to this.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I mean, and you've been on my mind for a while. It's just everything. I've just been so busy, and it's just like, I'm like, man. And I even told Brandy, I was like, man, I got to reach out to her. I'm going to do it now. Do it right now.
She kept saying it.
That's okay.
I didn't forget you. It's just things coming up.
No, I totally get it. Life happens. I had a late life baby at 46, so I've still got a 16-year-old at home.
Oh, wow.
So my other two are grown that are in my book, but so I'm still, doing carpool and all of that stuff. I get it. Believe me. Stuff just keeps happening. So anyway, but thank you so much for inviting me. I didn't know which direction you wanted me to go in tonight. I can go in any direction you want.
So tonight it's all about you. So it's wherever you want to go.
Oh,
we like to run our conversations. We just like to run our conversations like we're sitting around at a coffee table, with our coffee, tea, and just have a conversation because we're so unprofessional.
There you go.
That's okay. Can I say cuss words?
No.
No, okay.
No.
I was only asking because if there are some subjects that if we were to talk about them, like one having to do with FA that had a very nice name for me that was F-bomb altogether, was what they would call me. And so anyway, I just wanted to know so that I wouldn't repeat what he said. So anyway.
Well, F-bomb explains it perfectly.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Anyway, well, I was
just going to say, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there?
Sure. I'm Lynn Monèt. I've written in several books that are on Amazon and also on my website. I'm known internationally. In addition to being a nurse for 40 years, 17 of that, it's been in end of life care. So I have seen a lot of people cross over, come out of their bodies at the time of death. I'm also a certified death doula, which everybody wants to know what is that. And basically what it is it's a death midwife. There's a midwife that brings in babies. I'm the midwife that helps them exit. I also have a degree in biological science. I've been an empath ever since I've been a little girl and seeing things. My family and we lived 3 short blocks behind a hospital when I was little, and it was commonplace for us to see spirits walking through the house, and there were Indian mounds on the other side. So, I mean, for us, we grew up and it was like, well, there's a toaster, there's the door, and there's a dead person, wandering through. The hospital had what they called back then, they call them now skilled facilities, but back then they called them nursing homes. So, we'd see things like that. But, back in the 60s, I'm going to be 62 in May. And back in the 60s, I was born in 1963. That's just not something that you talked about because you would literally have the men in white coats sent to your house and you'd have a lobotomy performed on you.
Wow.
So, but I mean, there are some, for instances, that are very vivid. My siblings saw things too. If you'd like me to share some of that with you, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome.
Sure. First of all, I got to tell you, you do not look 62. You look fantastic.
Oh,
you
please.
Look great.
Hey, it's the angle of the camera and the lighting. Let's just not even go there.
I was going to ask her for her ID because I agree. She
Yeah.
looks 62
I didn't get in the 60s. No.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that.
Oh, well, thank you. Everybody, if they want to take pictures, I'm like, take it from up there.
Well, we know all about that, honey.
Camera.
Up there.
I want you to see this. So, yeah. So anyway, but no, thank you very much for that. But I grew up in Florida. There was one time that really stands out with me as if it happened yesterday. My brother and I were in my parents' master bedroom. And of course, I'm 5 years old, he's 7, and I'm in my mother's jewelry box, decorating myself with all the rhinestone jewelry. And my brother's on the floor playing with his cars at that time on the terrazzo floor. And I turned to show him how glamorous I made myself. And of course, he was not paying attention. He was fixated on this corner of the bedroom where when I looked, there was this misting, which of course now I've learned is ectoplasm and that it's a portal. And in that portal stepped in my brother's best friend, John, his mother, father, and brother. And they were just standing in this mist smiling at us. So my brother gets up and runs out the door looking for my mom. And I get up and run in the opposite direction looking for my mom. And of course he finds her first, and she's in the laundry room, and he's like, Mom, John's here with his family. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even hear anybody knock. And then she's coming, she's straightening herself, coming out of the laundry room, and he says, and they're in your bedroom. And she's like, they're in my bedroom. Who let them in my bedroom? And so when they got there, there was nothing there. And I came in behind him, and he got in trouble. And of course, I wasn't going to open my mouth because I didn't want to get in trouble too. Of course, he got even with me for that years later. But anyway, it just so happened that the next day was the first day back from spring break. And my brother normally rode on the bus and shared a seat with little John. And he also had a class, his little classroom. He was his classmate that sat next to him at a table next to him. And John wasn't there on the bus ride or in the classroom. And after they said the Pledge of Allegiance, the teacher stood up in front of the class and had made mention that John would not be returning to school because he and his entire family perished in an auto accident the day before. And it happened that day. That day that we saw him, it was like he was coming in to say goodbye. And, my parents weren't overly supportive about it. My dad is the one that actually had the gifts in the family, but he was also he was a math professor, so he was very analytical and scientific, so he would kind of dub that part out. And so they didn't try to tell us that we didn't have gifts, but they didn't support it. They didn't entertain it either. So going through that, when I was born and raised Presbyterian, and when I got to be about 10 years old, my mom decided to take a jaunt with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and we won't go there because that could definitely be a book within itself. But but you didn't, when you see things and you're a gifted person that way, they don't entertain that kind of thing because everything's demonic. So I was brought in front of the elders because I was still seeing things. And I was so scared I was ready to wet my pants as these elders were sitting around me telling me that I was going to die in Armageddon, that what I was seeing was demons, even if it was my great grandmother or my aunt or somebody that I recognized, that I had met in a lifetime that had since passed. So I started to think that, that I had mental issues, and I became, even though I still saw things, I became afraid of when I would still see things. I would run out of the room just as fast as anybody else of, that it's a ghost or something like that. And that's how it kind of went along. But as I became a mother, I had my two children, which as a single mother, I had purchased a piece of property that was so haunted that I never moved in. And I mean, we get a lot of people that call us. I know you guys do too, of, oh, there's a demon in my house. That's the first thing they say is there's a demon in my house. Yep. And 99.9% of the time it's not.
Right.
But this house, in fact, had two demons in the house and the young man that had hung himself in the house. And the thing was, is that was my first book, Omnipresent, that I wrote about. That's this one. This is an actual event that occurred in the house. When my son was sitting on the master bathroom toilet, he saw those hands coming in at him. Oh, and this is actually a picture of the house on my second book. Nice house, huh?
Yeah, looks like your normal, average American home.
Look at the face in the window.
Right.
You see it?
Oh, wow.
That's a demon.
Oh, wow.
Can you see it? Okay. I took those with my own camera. I didn't even know it was there. When I took it, I was taking those pictures to put it in the ad for sale by owner. I knew that there were demons in the house, but I didn't know that I actually caught a picture of one. But but the thing was, is the house, like I said, I never moved into it. We spent 2 nights. That was enough. But it put me in touch with other people of like mind, because when you're dealing with something like this, they don't have a number in the yellow pages for the Ghostbusters, and you can't call the police because they'll think you're crazy and, oh, she's the crazy lady calling. So I was able to reach out to other people, and I learned that I wasn't so odd after all. And so I then started to nurture my gifts again. The only thing that I feel bad about is when I was little, I could hear them and see them. And now I only hear them intermittently. I see them, I can smell them, I can feel them. but I only hear them on occasion. And usually it's my mom popping through like a megaphone, to tell me something. So,
Right.
but anyway, that's how it all started. As a single mother, I went through so much trying to get help with that. I actually ended up moving because the things I had like 13 different denominations of religion come in there to remove the things. I have multiple witnesses that either saw and or had something happen to them in that house. The worst thing that happened is my best friend was clawed to the point of bleeding while she stood next to me on her back and on her stomach.
Wow.
And we were standing in the kitchen, and this ectoplasmic wall, floor to ceiling, like just flat, was moving in on us. And she had her back to it, and I could hear the sound. It sounded like a didgeridoo, like that electrical wah, wah, wah kind of sound coming towards us. And I had heard that sound once before in the house when a demon had approached as well. And so I didn't say anything. And all of a sudden, my friend turns and she says, "What's that sound?" And I'm like, do you remember that I mentioned to you, that there could be something in this house? I had brought her over with me because I couldn't keep workers in the house. And that particular day, a worker had been there working and then just up and left, left the windows open, everything. So I had to go back to the house to secure the house in the evening time. And I didn't want to go by myself. So I asked her if she would come with me, and she did. And I was kind of telling her in the car some of the things that had been happening in the house and what the kids had seen. And my son, he had spent the night there one night and woke up with bite marks on his legs. So we only spent, that was the last night that we spent there. I didn't take my children back there until after I had all of these things done at the house. I finally took them back one more time, but then my son's friend got attacked, and then my daughter got attacked. And so I ended up selling it. And a lot of people ask, they say, "Well, did you tell the people that you sold it to?" And I'm like, I tried. I did, because there was one point, the house, as you can see, it's a split level house.
Yeah.
So you go into a foyer, and the stairs a set go up and a set go down. And I was exiting the foyer out the double entry doors, and I overhear the couple that's buying the house from me. The wife says to the husband, "Why did you push me?" And he said, "I didn't push you." And she said, "Yes, you did. You pushed me." And he said, "No, I'm 3 steps back. I didn't touch you." And of course I knew what it was, because there was a hell dog or a hellhound, whatever you want to call it, that loved those stairs. That was where he would, there was this room downstairs that was a family room with a full stone wall, which they energized off of. And they were coming in through there. And he would run the stairs all of the time. And I knew that that's what had pushed her. So my conscience got the best of me. And I said to them when they came out, I said, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And they said, "No, we're Baptists. We don't discuss those sorts of things. We don't entertain those sorts of things, and we're protected." And I'm like, okay. I would have told them the truth if they had asked, because I didn't. I know that the people that sold me the house knew that it was haunted. After I had sold the house, I did track down the family that sold me the house and spoke to them about it, and come to find out they did know that it was haunted. Their children were showing up with claw marks and bite marks, and they had 2 children. One was 4 and one was 6. And when they would go to school at that age, the teachers would say like, "Oh, paint a picture or color a picture of your family's, house and your family." So, they always make the house, and then they make the flower as big as the house, that's growing. The little kids, they always do that. And then the stick people, and they would draw their family off on one side, and then these other 3 mean looking, like dark figures on the other side. And when the teacher and the family would ask them about them, "Oh, those are the monsters that live downstairs in our house." So they were seeing them also. And
did they ever say how long they lived there before you?
6 months.
Wow.
They owned it for 1 year. Yeah, they owned it for 1 year. I don't know why they kept it for the year. I guess there's some tax thing in North Carolina, which is where it was, that that you do. I didn't care. I sold it in 8 months. But in the house prior to them, somebody had abandoned it, and it was bank owned for a period of time. And like over the period of about 7 years, 4 different families moved in and out of there. And I didn't I didn't know that. I mean, I was from Florida. I didn't know anything about that area. I found out later on that whole area is haunted. A lot of the places there, the playhouse and stuff like that, are all haunted. But I didn't know, at the time.
Yeah. Did you ever? I'm sorry. I was just gonna ask real quick. Did you figure out how like the demons were brought into that house?
Yes. The last lady that came was an American Indian. She came with a male friend of hers, and the way that the house was set on, it was on a half-acre lot, kind of back, so the driveway was relatively long, and they kind of parked at the beginning. And when they pulled up, she looked at me and she said, if your house had been built 3 feet over, it wouldn't be haunted. And then she pointed catty corner across the street and she said, I bet that one is haunted and the one behind it is haunted too. And the thing was, in the 8 months that I owned the house, there were 3 different families that moved in and out of that house catty corner to mine just while I was there. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with that house? The people they're there for 2 months and they leave. Or maybe it's one of those places like an Airbnb where they can come and stay, come and go.
Yeah.
So, but she was right. And the one behind it was bank owned. And it was similar to the way that mine was. But what she explained was that where the house was built, that there was a form of tunneling, like ley lines or like the vortexes that come off of the ley lines with the negative and the positive. And that it had been built on a ley line where when they dug because of the lower part was kind of like a basement, but not a basement. It was actually property. It was part of the house, the lower part of the house, broke into the area that they would use as an energetic avenue to travel. And I know that she was correct, because after she did a clearing on the house, she told me to go back and sage the house to kind of clear up what I call the spiritual micrometastasis, any little pieces that are left. And there was downstairs in the room where the fireplace was, when I was saging, I had my friend with me. The sage would circle around this one area that connected about 3 feet out from the ceiling and 3 feet onto the wall, like it was quarter round, only a big piece, like it was, there was clear lucite or something on it, because the smoke would not go in there. And I was showing my friend, I said, look at this. It would go this way, it would go that way, but it wouldn't go up into that area. So I even went and got a little step ladder and stood on it, took the plate and stuck it right up in there. And it literally did a handlebar like mustache and came back down in my face. Wow. So I did identify that she was correct, because to me, the tunneling at that point sounded so bizarre. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just now getting back into meeting people of like mind and learning about my gifts that I had buried for so long and denied. And when she had mentioned that they were tunneling, I'm like, yeah, they were tunneling. Yeah. I mean, here's part of the tunnel. And she's right. If the house had been 3 feet over, it wouldn't have broken into that. So it was just one of those things. And and a funny thing too is that I found out is that at that time, my daughter was 14 at the time. She was complaining about pain in her left shoulder, really, really bad pain. And I mean, I would give her ibuprofen and Tylenol combined, and she would still complain about it. And I mean, she wasn't at an age really, she was kind of a nerd. So she wasn't one of these kids that were like climbing out the windows in the middle of the night or anything like that. She wasn't drug seeking. And I mean, and the strongest stuff we had in the house was the Tylenol and ibuprofen. So I got her, I thought it was her backpack, because her backpack must have weighed like 30 pounds. So I got her a rolling backpack, and then it still didn't go away. And there was one weekend that she was complaining so much about the pain that I took off work. I was going to take her to the emergency room, because I thought, what if it's a blood clot? What if it's a tumor? I mean, I couldn't imagine. And then she ended up falling asleep. And, when kids fall asleep, you don't wake them. I figured if she woke up and still complaining, that I take her. I'm mentioning this because the very next day, I met those people, the Native Indian woman and the gentleman at the house. And my daughter was sitting out front of the house, a distance away from us, from where they had pulled up. And the lady asked me, she said, is your daughter complaining about pain in her left shoulder?
Wow.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, why? I mean, I had not even mentioned that.
Sure.
And she said, well, because she's got an attachment on her left shoulder. And I said, she's had a lot of pain. She said, I'm not surprised. It's a big one too. So she did something energetically and pulled it off. And she and her friend were stomping it into the ground. And she asked me, she said, ask your daughter if she's still having pain. And I said, Brittany, how's your shoulder? And she starts moving it. And I'm like, then she starts doing this fanning, thing with it that she hadn't been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, it feels fine. And I said, no pain at all. And she said, no. And the pain never came back. But what I learned is that sometimes these things can attach to people who would not normally have like a drug problem, but they attach to them, and a person seeking relief from the pain may become addicted to some of the drugs, which would put them off of their path or create situations where the addiction would create divorce and job loss and things, and the loosh that would be created, which loosh is like their chocolate, that it would give them something to feed off of. So, I learned that. And, so it was interesting that happened. And I do help remove attachments on people that are causing pain sometimes. And I don't do demons anymore. I learned that lesson. They're above my pay grade. We have this mutual respect. You stay on your side, I'll stay on mine. If you come near me, I'm going to send you so much love that you're going to shrivel into a raisin, So, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
it works.
no kidding.
It works.
Right.
I'm telling you, it does. It took me so many years of dealing with these things to find out that something so simple could be so effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynn, I got a quick question, and I actually have to jump off here in a second. I got to go pick up my son, but I wanted to ask this, and I'll be listening after I jump off here. You had mentioned about your childhood a little bit, and what did your friends think of your abilities when you were growing up?
When
and by the way, and nice meeting you. And I'm sorry, girls, but I got to run. But
You're good. You're
thanks,
good.
guys.
See you, Paul.
See you, Paul.
Hey, guys.
It's funny because I didn't really talk that much to my friends about it. Once in a while I'd go in their houses and I'd see something walking through. I remember one time distinctly, I went into this little girl's kitchen with her. We were making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I saw this elderly woman standing off over by the refrigerator, and I said, "Oh, hi." I didn't realize, and I'm like, "Well, who's is that your grandmother?" And the little girl's like, "Who? What?" I'm like, "The lady standing right there. Is that your grandmother?" And she's like, "There's nobody there."
Wow.
I kind of, so, I mean, and there is a little bit of a difference, but sometimes when you're little, when you get used to seeing them so much, it's kind of hard to differentiate between them, when you're that little. So, and as you get older, you learn that discernment that there are certain little things that are a little bit off, that aren't as, that aren't as perfect or streamlined as that. But, and plus, back in the 60s, everything was shh, because it was what the Joneses thought. Everybody wanted to be the Joneses, and you had to, you know what I'm saying?
So leave it to beavers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, my mom, when she was coming from the laundry room, when my brother went to gut her, was straightening her apron over her little dress. She had her hair and her clickety shoes and her, her Merle Norman makeup on. So, yeah, I mean, now you get me, I schlep out in my sweatpants and my T-shirt, and it's like, here I am.
Same. Yeah.
So, but, the thing is with my gifts, I ended up going back to school later in life to further my nursing degree. And I was placed in situations, and I had to take a psych class. And in the psych class, I was placed into mental institutions following patients in there. And I was able to see attachments on a lot of the schizophrenic patients. They have a certain type of attachment that almost looks like they're like as big as potatoes, but they're clustered on their backs like grapes. And they are actually talking in their ears. So the voices are not coming from inside of their head. They're being whispered to and talked to by these things that have collected and clustered, that are actually, they're like attached with like this horn thing at the top of the shoulder, and it comes and clips under the arm, and it looks kind of twisted but hollow. And if you pull them off, they literally start to fall to the floor, and you start stomping them into the ground too. I just do that naturally because I saw those people doing it too. So I thought that's what you were supposed to do and that it works. And then there is on these people with addiction, there is this archonic type of attachment that looks like a spider, crab, also looks like a reptilian thing, sometimes with a coiled tail like an alligator or lizard, but sometimes it has a human buttocks, which is different. The same, you know, and they have these fins that start at the top of their head and go to the nape, but they're floppy. And the reason why I know this is because my brother had an addiction issue and he carried an archon. And even though he had overcome his addiction, that archon would precede him in my house when they were coming to visit. My kids would see it, I would see it, and my kids would say, oh, well, Uncle Ray must be coming to visit because his friend's here, you know, and they were right. And the thing is they would jump from the ceiling corner to corner and turn its head around, and the fin would flap over its face.
Wow.
The thing that was distinctive about it too is that the head was much smaller in proportion to the actual body part of it that would attach on to the backs of the people. And the difference between the attachments on people with schizophrenia is that they are not invited. They are opportunistic. They come because the people have gone through some major trauma in their lifetime. So their art fields have what I call cracks in the windshield. And this enables these things to attach on them and continue to cause the people to suffer, you know, basically. And then with the archons, they're invited. So it's a little bit different how that is dealt with as well. And the thing is too, is even when somebody stops drinking or stops their addictive behavior, the archon will detach, but it never leaves. It constantly is baiting them, trying to get them to go back. And that's why addiction is so hard to overcome, because you got to think, I mean, they've had a good thing going. They've been riding on this person. They've been, you know, eating the lush that is caused the sadness, even in the rippling throughout the family, maybe even the neighborhood, if they drove through somebody's living room when they were drunk, you know, I mean, all of these things. And if they've got a good thing going, they are creatures of habit. They don't want to leave. You know, this was an easy deal. They want to reattach and continue. So, yeah, I was able to see those two in that way with some of my insights. Whoop.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'll be right back.
It's okay.
Well, okay, so I do have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Now, you speak of an archon. Are there different types, or is it just that specific name for that specific entity?
No, there are different types. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone in Europe, and I didn't even realize they were talking about these pink. They're like a pinkish peach color, and they stand upright on their feet. And I've seen one before, and I didn't realize that was also an archon, because when I saw the one that I saw, it wasn't attached to anybody. The ones that I have seen as like I said, are spider-like. A lot of times people will mention that they can see the willowy legs, you know, sometimes in their peripheral vision, like if they're laying down or something, and they're like, oh, the black thing with the willowy legs, I was trying to be nice to it, you know, while I was trying to sleep. It was, you know, it wasn't hurting me or anything. And I'm like, no, you don't want to be nice to it. You know, you don't ask it to leave, you know, you don't want it to stay there. But there are different types of them. The only ones that I have personally seen is that one time, that pink one that somebody from Europe had mentioned, that I seen one, and I didn't realize that that's what it was. But on my own, I have seen, as I said, the spiders, the crabs, and the reptilian, the two different types where they look identical, but either they have a tail or a human type buttocks. But recently I have seen these things that look like they're like those roly-poly bugs when you pick up a rock. I don't know what they're called, with all of the little legs and the shell, and they make little balls. I call
roly-poly-olies.
Roly-poly-olies.
That's what I call them.
Yeah, they look like roly-poly-olies, and they're kind of diagonal on the back, sometimes more on one side than the other. A lot of times people will complain about pain in those areas. I've just recently started seeing those. I don't know where they've come from, but I put them in that bracket or that file of that also, of you know, some kind of attach of the archon that way too. Even though maybe it should go in a different category, but I don't know of any other one to put it into, because it's something that is attached on the back, and the legs kind of go into the skin like veins or tentacles, and that's how they kind of stay snug on there. Whereas the other ones attach at the shoulders and at the hips. Even the spiders with the 8 legs will have two legs on each hip and 2 legs on each shoulder, and that's how they hang on. So
wow. Yeah. This brings me to a different type of question. Are you still in nursing right now?
I just have recently retired. I'm getting to that age, and I've recently had some health issues. I have some compression in my spine, so I have no feeling in this part of my hands anymore. So I'm not safe to do nursing work. I had done care management for about 3 years with a large insurance company, and I've just recently been blessed to be able to retire. So I am now a retired nurse, but I'm still doing death doula. I'm also, still helping people with other things. And I'm currently taking the Mace Energy classes out of Australia to help people remove stamps without having to go through years of counseling. You can go through like one session. I'll be giving some out for free for friends if you want some, if I can use you as a guinea pig while I'm practicing. Sure. So anyway, at the end, I'll be, reaching out to people, and if they want is a, friend favor, I'll do that for people. So, but I still want to help people, in some way.
Right. So okay. You're just raising all kinds of questions for me now. Okay, so you said that you're still a death doula. Explain what that is for everybody, and then I got more questions.
Okay, a death doula, in simple terms, is a midwife. A death that, as a midwife, helps bring in the baby. A death doula helps the person exit. And also it's different than hospice because it's more all encompassing, where I can assist the people with their healthcare power of attorney, so that they understand what that is, so that they can do it for free and not have to pay an attorney. I don't gain any part from that, but this is just things that I've picked up, how to not be taken advantage of it by a funeral home, how to get cremation versus burial, or the other way around, whatever they want, but to skip the middleman a lot of times. To get them on track with things such as, making sure that they have their things set up for their spouse or loved ones that they're leaving behind, so that, if there's something hidden, underneath the trash can outside, then you need to tell them where it is, when I see it, or what it is. Or if you're leaving your spouse behind and you know that the roof in the back needs to be repaired, well, it's time to get your things in order. So it's that kind of a thing. And it's also a very spiritual thing. People call in a death doula when they have a little bit of a different view of life and death, where death is a little bit more of a celebration versus something that's sad, because we don't die. We simply shed our skins, because our bodies can only go so far, but our soul is still intact. So everybody, you're going to see your loved ones again. You're going to see your pets again too. That's not, when a person dies, it's not the last time that you're going to see them. And because of my gifts, being a nurse in end-of-life care for 17 years, I've seen a lot of beautiful, beautiful things, which is my book, Colors of Heaven. I wrote that book to help take the stigma of death and dying away. For people. It talks about a lot of beautiful things, some things that I've been in the room to overhear when people are at that point of rallying, where they're in and out of their body, and it's a time where it's hard to rouse them. Their eyes are sometimes half masked, their toes are flaccid, and then all of a sudden they'll perk up, their eyes will brighten, and they'll start talking about things that they have seen on the other side, like children that haven't been born yet, and beautiful things like that. And they come back with these messages. But also, being in the medical field for so many years, the one thing that I've noticed is, with anybody that sees things that other people can't see, they automatically call that hallucinations. And with the people with what they call mental illness, which a lot of them are empaths, I mean, and they're put in there because people are uncomfortable with that. So, I mean, I've got so many examples of that, but they run and they get a pill for it. You know, the people with mental in the mental facility, they get their lithium, they get their, you know, their Ativan, whatever it is, and then the older people get the Seroquel and Buspar if they start talking about seeing loved ones. And I have many, for instances, as a nurse, that really would bring it home for people that there's no way to deny it.
Right.
And also I saw my mother at her time of passing come out of her body, and the beautiful things that occurred. And the thing that was the most interesting to me is that being able to peer into the other side, there were beings on the other side that were like us, but there were also beings that appeared to be from somewhere else. And they were gorgeous. They walked with the angels. They didn't have wings. My feeling was that they were from some other solar systems and things. And really, if you think about it, with all of the stars that there are in the sky that are sunshines for other solar systems, it would be ignorant on our part to think that we are the only ones. And when those beings finish out their time, whatever solar system they're in, they have to have a place to go to. So the people that are alien minded and the ones that are more angel minded, everybody's right, because it all comes together there. Yeah. So everybody's right. And I don't mean cryptids. Cryptids aren't there. They're too low, and their energy is too low to cross into that. You have to have, the frequency has to match. So you cross into, you know, the area that your frequency is matching with. So, but yeah, just so everybody, they don't have to argue about that. They're both there. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I totally like, you know, with what you do, I think that takes a special type of person, a special kind of person to do that, you know, because I mean, but the way you look at it, it's not such a bad thing, you know.
No,
and
it's not.
I can appreciate that. You know, it's amazing because I was very, very close to my grandma, and she died in 2012. And
I'm sorry.
She was actually unconscious and in the hospital. And me and my daughter, we went and spent that night with her. Well, the nurses come in and they waited. My daughter was in high school, and it was like her last week. It was finals week. So she went on to school, and I was there, and the nurse said, you know, you probably want to call the family in type things. So I actually went and I talked to my grandma, and I was like, listen, Granny, you know, go be with Grandpa. I love you, you know. And nobody in my family believes me, but my grandma said, I love you too.
I believe you.
Swear to God, she did. And she was unconscious, but she said, I love you too. And I take comfort in knowing, I'm even getting the chills now because I feel like she's here.
I'm getting the chills too.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, you know, I know that was her. And I have comfort in knowing, like, I was the last one she spoke to, you know?
Oh, that was so beautiful. You know, people so many times miss when the person that's transitioning is in that transition period. A lot of times when they come back through with that bright moment, people that are grieving in physical form really miss a beautiful time that they could actually communicate directly with the other side themselves, because the person doing the transitioning, the filters are effacing, so they are able to hear the telepathy coming in from the spiritual realm as well as the physical speech of the people that are here. So I mean, you can ask what Bob did with the clock, or where you know, where your dad buried the so and so, and if the spirit is present, they can come forward. I actually have a beautiful story that if you'd like me to share it, that really brings that home. I had a patient on my unit that was totally blind. She couldn't see anything, no shadows, nothing. She'd been blind for 10 years. I didn't know her that well. She'd been on my unit for 2 weeks, and she was actively declining. And her son and daughter came to the nurse's station, and they said to me, Mom's talking to people in the room that aren't there. Well, of course, I expected that because I knew she was talking to people that she could very much hear and see, and you know, in the spiritual way. So I said to them, to give for comfort for them, I said, well, you know, let me walk down to the room with you and check on your mama and see if she needs anything, if I can make her more comfortable, fluff her pillow, you know, do mouth care, whatever. When we walked into the room, their mom was sitting at a slant, which they always usually are, and she was smiling, and she was reaching up into the sky as if something was being handed to her that was very, very delicate, and she was very happy receiving it. And I asked her, I said, Edna, I said, who's here? And she said, George. And her daughter literally turned as white as a sheet and had to sit down because she's like, well, George is my father. My father passed away X amount of years ago. And then Edna pipes up and she says, and he's happy that you're taking good care of Pixie. Pixie was Edna's poodle. When George died, the son had to take possession of the poodle, which was like 15 years old at this point, but still very much alive. And he told me the story. And he said to me, he said, do you think that my mom is hallucinating? And I said to him, I said, well, you know, professionally, I can't come out and say, no, I think your dad's here. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. So I put it back on them. And I'm like, well, do you think she's hallucinating? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, do you mind if I try something? I said, I'm not trying to change the way that you believe or anything, but it's been my experience. I've done this a lot of years, that loved ones do come forward from the spirit realms to assist the loved ones in crossing over. So even if there's nobody physically in the room, they never die alone. They do have beings in the room every time. So if anybody's had somebody pass away and in their sleep and there was no one there around them, they do have loved ones around them. So again, and it's not alone. So he said that I could do something. So I asked Edna, I said, Edna, can I ask George a question? And she nodded her head yes. And I said, George, what color is your son's shirt? And Edna said yellow. He had on a yellow Ralph Lauren polo shirt.
Wow.
There is no way in hell that she could have seen. She couldn't see. George told her what color the shirt was. Wow. And the son in that moment got it. And he said, hi, Dad. And I said to him, I said, well, I'm going to leave you with your mom and your dad. And I'm at the nurse's station, or you can just press the button and I'll come right back and enjoy yourself. And you know, a lot of times people, when their parents start talking about seeing somebody else in the room, a dead person, they get so uncomfortable, they run to get me to give them the meds to shut them up because they're not comfortable with it, you know. And instead of taking that moment to embrace that also and that opportunity, it just, so many people don't realize too that, you know, you can make a pact with someone before they die. They can still hear you. They have all of their senses, and a lot of times people have argued about the smell thing, but it's not like an olfactory nerve smell like we smell. It's like a memory recall. And if you think about coffee percolating or popcorn popping, you can smell it right now if you think about it, and you're not even near it. And you can even really taste it if you think about it hard enough. But that it's memory recall, like on steroids over there. My mom told me, as I asked her one time, I said, Mom, don't you ever miss the taste of potato salad or those barbecued ribs you used to make, or brownies? And she comes through like a megaphone and she says, well, we don't eat here. I said, yeah, I know, but you know, don't you miss it? And she's like, well, we do everything with thought here. And she says, like, for instance, if we want to go someplace, we just think of it and we're there instantaneously, that fast. She says, so when it comes to things like eating food, all that we have to do is think of it, and the flavor and the taste of it comes to us as if we are eating it.
Wow.
So, you know, and of course, I mean, who wouldn't love that? You know, chocolate chip cookies and Ben and Jerry's with no calories. Oh, I would be digging in on the other side, you know? So, but you know, it just, there's so many things that there are beautiful things about the time of death and crossing over. If people could realize that, just imagine that they're going on the most amazing vacation and trip, you know, somewhere very, very beautiful where they're pain-free, and that you will catch up with them eventually. You know, they've got a place saved for you. They've got a seat. They got a seat for you on the bus. You just, you know, your time to go, you know, you will see them again. It's not the last time that people do see them. So anyway, I know I'm talking a lot, but
you're good. I think Randy had some questions.
I do. I've got one.
Okay.
So let's just keep on this subject, and then I'm going to move to a different subject. Okay. So now I'm sure you're as a death doula, you're with these patients until they cross into the next step of their existence. Okay,
Yes.
so during that time, have you seen anything where these attachments have been there? Have you removed them at that time? What exactly would happen if you'd seen like something at their time of crossing?
I will remove it, but the thing is once they shed their body, the attachment stays with the body. So if it's been something like an archon that has separated, sometimes they're generational. You might, or your archon might have been your uncles or something when he passed away, and they, saw the opportunity to jump on somebody else. But for the most part, the body, when it's left behind, all of the negative stuff is left behind with that body. And that, which brings up another thing, if you don't mind if I mention this, when people are cremated, and a lot of times loved ones for their own grief or whatever, overcoming their grief, they'll carry ashes in a pendant or something of their loved ones. And not that this is a bad thing to do, but what I wanted to say is when my sister passed away, she passed away a year ago, June, and she wanted to have her ashes put in the ocean where I grew up in Florida as kids. We grew up in the beach that we used to go to. So I realized when I had her ashes, I was carrying them to the beach. I had them wrapped in a towel so that nobody would see that I had this box of ashes. And as I'm carrying them, I said to my life partner, I said, Bill, I can't carry this close to my body, because everything that is negative that my sister left behind, the sadness, any anger, any jealousy, I said, even though it's familiar to me, because it was part of her, where she had all of the good stuff too combined, all of the negative stuff, because she took all of the good stuff with her, all of that junk was left behind, even in those ashes that were still very energetic with the feeling of the negative stuff. And granted, it was still familiar that it was hers, but I didn't realize how much of that negative stuff is left behind with the body. So we went back, and I ended up getting a sand pail and putting her in the sand pail, her ashes, and I carried them then away from my body and out into the ocean, waist deep, and submerged her ashes, and they circled around me and then went out to the ocean. But I just, sometimes people want to carry those ashes or wear those ashes on them. And if they realize that the stuff that's in there is the stuff that the leftovers, I don't mean to make that sound in a negative way, but do you really want that kind of negativity in your energy field that way? There are so many other things that you can do before they've taken their last breath. And the thing about people too is sometimes they stay embodied until the last minute, and there are other ones that sometimes will even pass a day early and just leave the physical body there to finish. So, but I mean, you can clip a piece of their hair while they're still breathing. That has all of the components in it. While they're still alive, that has all the components in it. It has the love, the joy, the everything. Something like that would have more of an essence about them that you might want to have with you, that's more balanced and not so negative in your field that way. So, but I realized that when that happened, because I'd never had that happen before. I never carried ashes that close to me.
Sure, that makes sense.
So when I did, I was very sensitive to, I could feel it burning in my teeth. It was that strong in my body. And I'm like, whoa, let's just take this back and do something else.
Right. Yeah. So when you put the ashes into the water, okay, so it is the ocean, and we are talking sea salt. Did all of that feeling kind of like fade away, drift away as soon as it hit the salt? Did it kind of soothe all of that anxiety that you were feeling?
Yes, it did. And actually, it was soothed by me putting her in the bucket and carrying her away from my body. So I was actually holding a strap to a bucket, and she was in the bucket, and I had like a paper towel over the top so that nothing would blow out ahead of time. Plus, it was inconspicuous in the sense that, nobody could tell that I was carrying those into the ocean. Most people sprinkle them along the the shoreline and let the water come and take it, but they usually end up getting it blowing back in their face. You know what I'm saying? So doing it this way and submerging her, she, like I said, they did circle around me one time and then they went out. So like her last goodbye kind of thing. But just having them away from my body where I wasn't touching them directly, because the other way I was carrying them close to my body. You know, I was hugging them like a teddy bear wrapped in a towel, and they were very, very close even to my heart, so I could feel that. But having them that distance away is what helped more so. And I'm sure that, you know, the salt water does neutralize things, so I'm sure that it did neutralize a lot in that moment that way. But yeah, you know, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that part of it.
Right. So we're gonna go back to the house, and I want to talk about the hellhounds just a hair, because of what I found it is interesting. You said that they were entering and exiting through a lower level in the house.
Yes.
Now, do you think that? Just a question, but do you think that this was more of a portal from one realm to another? Because hellhounds are more associated to the gates.
Exactly.
So I, you know, did you feel like you were close to some type of gate to hell, or did you just feel like you were in a portal that was just somewhere close in existence? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. The thing that I learned is that my house was built in the 1970s that I had bought, that I never moved into. It's not about the age of the house. It's about the age of the ground that it's built on. So even a brand new house, if it's built in the wrong place, can be haunted. So because we don't know what was there with that ground, you know, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, 300 years ago, for that matter, you know, that area. And the thing is that, the lady, when the American Indian woman, when she came in, she told me to take her in through the back door because she knew that the demons, there were two of them, were waiting, and not both of them were. Yeah, they were not both hell dogs. One was a hell dog. One was, you know, I've learned that as there's a hierarchy of angels from cherubim going up to, there's also a sub-hierarchy, for lack of a better word. I don't know how you would say that backwards. And as it goes lower, they get stronger. So there was one like on a level one, I guess you would say, and the hell dogs, they fall into place somewhere below that, you know, quite a ways, because they can, each one can do different things, and some can do more things than others. So I forgot what I was saying. What was I going with that? Oh, that, sorry, I'm having a senior moment. Don't tell anybody.
It's normal.
Don't worry.
What was your question again? You were asking me.
What about if you were just feeling like as if you were a portal, so they were just crossing from one realm to another, or did you feel like you were close to the gates?
What happened is that the woman actually communicated with, when she came in through the back sliding door, she set up her blanket with all of her stuff right at the top of the stairs that this hell dog would travel up and down, and he literally presented at the top of the stairs. And I'm looking at this thing. It literally, I'm 5'9". It came in almost as tall as me. It had feet that would flutter underneath so fast that it would just look like a vibrational fluttering thing. It kind of hunched over, it stood up on its haunches, but it had a tail kind of like a squirrel, and it had ears on each side of its head like the FTD man, only they glazed like over his shoulders, like long rabbit ears that went backwards over his shoulders. His face was very, very narrowed and long. And the thing is he had nares, or also nose holes that were almost as big as a horse, that took up almost the whole end, with this very, very dull looking, almost brown color of, it looked velvety more so than fur, kind of hanging over the areas. And when he presented, I heard that didgeridoo sound, and I'm looking and I can see him standing there. And all of a sudden the lady says, she says, "You did mention that he had big feet, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Why is he so ugly?" And she says, "Well, he's not ugly where he comes from." So the guy that was standing next to me, he also saw him. We were able to release the young man that had hung himself in the house. A young man, it was verified by the next door neighbor that there was the very first family that had built the house and moved in there. They lived there for like 6 years, and then the parents were going through divorce. The son had a little bit of a drug problem. He ended up hanging himself in the stairwell, and the mother came home and found him. Those demons were already in that house, so it wasn't his act that left the negativity.
Gotcha.
It was the demons that were already there that caused his demise. So while she's sitting there, you could hear this didgeridoo sound, and then she would comment back, and then it would comment back with that didgeridoo sound, and she would comment back. And what she told me is that's how that they were traveling through the portals, and that somehow the house, kind of the edge of the house, broke into one of those portals and blocked it so that they couldn't continue to travel through. And her agreement with them is that she would reopen the portals for them to be able to travel through, and then she would pack it up, behind them so that they couldn't get back in. And what happened is when I went down after she left, there was so much smoke from sage that, again, you could see that connection from the ceiling to the wall, and it looked like there was paper stuffed, what it looked like of what she had done. But then I had a friend that did from a remote place, she did Reiki and all of this stuff, decided to have her and a friend, without telling me, go in and check it out and see what they could do with the hell dog. And they ended up opening it up and let it back into the house. So, yeah, and that's how, that happened. But there were so many things that happened in that house that were just mind blowing. And my dog too. My dog didn't want to go in the house, kept bulking. And that was the second night that we'd slept there. And my son woke up with bite marks in 3 places on his legs. Wow. Bite marks that you could count the teeth. They were purple bite marks. I asked him, I said, Austin, what happened to your legs? And he said, he looks down, I'm pointing at the bite marks. He's touching them. He says, I don't know. Somebody that would be bitten that hard would feel it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he didn't even, it happened while he was asleep. And it happened, that was the first night that I saw the hell dog in the house. Yeah. And there's a story to that. And again, because of my brainwashing as being a Jehovah's Witness for like 5 or 6 years, I was in denial of what I was seeing. I was blaming it on the fact that I was up late. My blood sugar was low. I had been breathing fumes of paint because I had been painting in the master bedroom. And I saw this thing come up the stairs. It crossed the double entry doors and shot up in front of me and shot down the hallway towards the master bedroom. And I heard my dog growling ferociously.
Wow.
After I'm standing there frozen and petrified, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, was that a bicycle going underneath the light outside?
Right.
But then it's like, how could it come up the stairs and go across like that? And I saw it, I saw what it looked like. And so hearing my dog growling down the hallway,
Sure.
I immediately snapped out of, what I thought I was seeing, to go down to quiet the dog, because my kids had drug the blow-up mattresses into the master bedroom because they wanted to sleep in my room. So, and I didn't want the dog to wake the kids up because they had school the next day. It was a school night that we stayed over. And so when I went down there, I had a little schnauzer named Sally, and she was standing just inside of the doorway of the room, literally fixated on the opening of the door. And she had that ridge of hair up on her back, and she was growling ferociously. Even when I walked into the room, she put her ears back just for a minute to greet me and, wiggled her little nubby tail, but she continued that stance. Lo and behold, the next morning when, because then some other things happened. I ended up laying down going to sleep because this is my imagination. I probably should have picked up my kids and run out of there, but I was conditioned to not acknowledge things like that because it was something wrong with me. It wasn't something, it wasn't really there. Mm-hmm. So the next morning, I asked my daughter, I said, how did you sleep last night? And she said, I didn't. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, I felt like something was standing in that doorway staring at us all night long. So she felt it too. And my kids are very, very gifted. I raised them very open that way. So they're very, very gifted children, every single one of them. But that's what she said. And that was the morning that when we got up, my son had the bite marks on his legs.
Wow.
That was the last time that I had taken them there. Like I said, my friend got clawed to the point of bleeding, too. And granted, my dog was there, but the bite marks on my son's legs were more narrow than my dog wasn't prone to biting anyway. But if my dog had bitten him, it would have been a wider, larger bite.
Sure.
And it wasn't small like a rat. I mean, it looked like it was like this big, but upper and lower. And then the teeth you could count across like dog's teeth. So, it just.
Well, it seems like they would tell you, hey, the dog bit me. They would tell you the specific instance, hey, the dog bit me, or, or something like that. Kids have a tendency to say, hey, well, the dog bit me or whatever. I was playing with the dog bit me. But did your child have any recollection of it or of being bit?
No, he, and that's what I thought. Cause I mean, again, there's no way they were bruised purple. That somebody, if you were bitten that hard, you would feel it. It would be very painful. And he slept through the whole thing. But, they can do this paralysis thing on people too, when they're around. So I'm assuming that's what they did. I don't know. But he did not know. He was actually touching them himself. And then I even asked him because he had that dinosaur from Toy Story with the chomping teeth. And I'm like, well, were you playing with your dinosaur? And then it's like, no, I mean, he didn't even bring it with him.
Yeah.
And the night before he had taken a bath and he put on his little Bob the Builder or Teletubby, whatever he was into at that time, the shorts, he had shorts on it because it was like in March or April, and a t-shirt that was short sleeved. And I would have seen those on his legs.
Yeah.
But they weren't there. They were not there.
Totally understand what you're saying, especially like on the demonic type side of things. Brandy and I have a mutual friend who lived in lived through a demonic haunting, and he was actually bit by a rattlesnake, but was never physically bit by a rattlesnake. He went to the hospital and they said, you've been bit, you rattlesnake, and he had to have antivenom, the whole 9 yards, but he was never physically in our world bit by a rattlesnake. Go figure.
Yeah, well,
that's great.
I was talking even recently to a demonologist, Nathaniel Gillis, and he was telling me that sometimes even those bites come from the inside out. If that makes sense, that the bite occurs even before you see it. So then it kind of comes to the surface. And I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Type thing. But yeah, it was bad. I mean, I had multiple witnesses that saw the things. My kids' friends saw them. There was one point that my son had brought his friend Justin over, and they were downstairs in that area where the demons like to play. And they were playing video games down there. They had a little TV. They brought their Nintendo, and they were down there playing. And my son got up to leave to go upstairs to get something to snack on or drink for the boys. And Justin remained there, but he was sitting on the not hearth. What do they call that piece that comes out from the stoop, that comes out from the front of the fireplace that you can sit on? It's like a little step.
I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've got one.
It's not a hearth, but anyway, Justin was sitting on that, and he said that out of the blue, this ball of light came at him and hit him in his chest so hard that it pushed him back, that his head was partially looking up into the fireplace, and he could see this triangular thing over his head that was illuminating. And he said that at that time, he could not move anything but his eyeballs. And all of a sudden, as my son's coming down the stairs, he can hear my son coming down the stairs. It just released. And Justin asked my son when he walked in the room, he said, "Did you see that?" My son's like, "See what?" Because he wasn't down there. And they ended up moving from there into my son's bedroom upstairs to play the video games. They didn't want to go down there anymore. But so many things happened. Oh my gosh.
And as a parent, and here's the thing, I too have studied demonology. And the thing was, I believe what was happening in your house is that It was actually trying to get to you by going through your children, where you open yourself up, invite it, say, oh, leave my son alone, come after me type thing, and then there you go. There's the invite,
Yeah.
And I could imagine as a parent going through that, watching your child. That's just, I think, the worst thing ever.
That is the whole reason why we never moved in there. I had multiple denominations. I had Andrew Calder, who has since passed away, but he was the priest with Georgia Paranormal. And he came to the house and he did a blessing on the house along with a Presbyterian minister that was there also at the same time, wanting to learn. The story is that I dated the Presbyterian minister briefly a year before. And when you go through something like this, you have to connect with people that have met you before that know that you're sane, right? So you can't just go up to people, and start talking about this, because they'll think that you're crazy. And he knew me to be creditable and that sort of thing. So he connected up with the guy from Georgia Paranormal. His church actually paid for it. But when Andrew Calder came, he did all of the blessing, and then I brought my children back, and my son brought a friend with him, and the child got attacked. My daughter got attacked, both of them coming down those stairs. At the bottom stair, there was this burning, lashing feeling, because when you are struck, if you've ever been hit by one, it is a slicing burn to the bone that almost feels, and I mean, that almost feels like that if you were to move your hand over something, that blood would be gushing everywhere, but it's not. But it's to the bone. And anyway, after the kids got attacked, I called Andrew back and I said, look, I'm selling this house. I said, there is no way as a mother that I could put my children through this. I mean, what would I say to my kids if they get up in the middle of the night, Mom, there's something in my closet or under my bed? And there really is. Right. Or in my bed for that matter. And we're all huddled in my bed having the covers pulled off. I said, I can't do that. I'm just going to sell it. And he even kind of argued with me. He said, no, that is your house. You stake your ground. I said, listen, I've had enough. I mean, to me, what would I do if here I'm having a family dinner for Thanksgiving or Christmas and my extended family has come over, and all of a sudden I see a demon walk through the house and I stand up at the table and command it in the name of Jesus Christ to get out of my house? How long do you think my guests are going to stay? And how many people do you think are going to invite me to their house because I might be bringing more than chocolate cake? I said, no, I can't do that. I said, your house is your sanctuary. Yep. And every time a piece of paper might blow off of something, I might think that a demon's back. And I had a confrontation by that hell dog. When we started to move out, I had gone downstairs into the garage to go to the underneath the stairs storage, because I put some Christmas decorations and my Christmas tree and stuff in there, and I was pulling them out to move them out. And it started growling at me. It was underneath there. And I just said to it, I said, I'm here to get my stuff. I'm leaving. You can have this house. I'm leaving. So I started to gather the things. And then all of a sudden, I heard a noise behind me. And I turned around, and it was literally standing in front of the pull-up door of the garage. And I was towards the door getting ready to go in the house. And I looked at it, and it was looking at me. And I said to it, I said, I'm done. I'm leaving. You can have this house. You win. I want nothing to do with you. And I turned. I could feel it putting its claw type nail in the creak of my arm, trying to get me to turn around. And I just walked, continued. I left. Because of the fact that I was not afraid of it at that point, it had no power over me because it couldn't feed off of the loosh. I wasn't creating any. So it kind of disabled it and weakened it in the sense that it couldn't do a stronger physical act towards me. And that is the lesson that I learned in that house, is that, that you've got, even if you're scared peeing your pants, you've got to fake it like you're not, because they can't tell the difference. Right. If you're like, they're feeding off that loosh, and then they can do more physical acts against you. Yep. So you've got to protect yourself. And then I found out later that if you send love at them, it's repellent. They scatter. They don't want to be around it. It's like a stench in the room. So, and it really disables them. So, but I mean, that's what I went through with that house. And my mom was there with me with some of it. And like I said, I've got witnesses that saw the things at the same time I was in the room. We both did. But there
Wow.
was a lot of trickery that was going on, you know, in that house and different things. And when I spoke to the people that sold me the house, it almost ruined their marriage because the water would be turned on. And then the husband would go in the kitchen and say to the wife, why'd you leave the water running in the kitchen? And she's like, well, I didn't. I wasn't even in there. And they get into an argument. And then they assume that one of the kids did it, you know, but then it would happen at a time that the kids weren't home and they were constantly, you know, or there would be knocking on the bedroom door when he worked nighttime and he was trying to sleep during the daytime, and they would mimic her voice, which is something about that house. When I received the keys and we went to the house for the first time, I brought the makings for tacos to cook dinner for the kids, and they were in their rooms, you know, posting, each putting something special. My son, his baseball mitt and his baseball thing, and my daughter brought her PlayStation. But anyway, they were down the hallway and I overhear my daughter saying, I'll be there in a minute. All of a sudden she shows up in the doorway of the kitchen and she said, Mommy, what did you want? I said, I didn't call you. And she said, yes, you did. She said, you called me twice. She said, you called me and I said, I'd be there in a minute. And then you called me again. What did you want? And I said, I swear on my life, I didn't call you. And of course she comes back, I swear on my life, you did. Then my son comes to the same doorway. He's peering in under my daughter's arm and says, Mommy, I heard you call her too. So even in that short bit of time, they have an intelligence about them. And they've learned that I was the mommy lady, that each of my children's name were Austin and Brittany, and they could even mimic my voice. So, you know, I mean, and I, of course, at that time just rationalized and said, oh, you know, it's dinner time. Brittany is a popular name. There might have been a lady outside in the front yard calling her Brittany home, and that's what you overheard. I'm sure that you'll meet this person, you know, eventually and make good friends. And of course, my kids run out after dinner trying to meet kids in the neighborhood, you know, so looking for this person. But it wasn't. It was the entities in the house that were doing that. So, yeah.
It's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, but they do have an intelligence about them. You know, they do. They, you know.
They know everything about you and they're patient. They will lay in wait.
Oh, they know me. They, you know, I'm labeled. I already know that. I know that they know me. Yeah. They do.
Well, they do. Once you have a dealing with them, you're marked, you're automatic, you know, and that's the thing, you know, like they'll wait until, you know, you're at your lowest. And sometimes that's when they try to, you know, make their moves, and it could be 20 years or 50 years, depending on how old you are. So, or, you know, if you keep your faith and, you know, do the right things, or never, you know.
Yeah. But, you know, sometimes even with that, and I agree with you, that's so important. But even like in the case of like my daughter with that attachment and the pain, if she had been a normal, a grown person, she might have, in just seeking comfort from the pain, become addicted to drugs and create havoc in their life, you know. So they can approach you even when you're not aware, like even the people with schizophrenia, where they've been through so much trauma that they can attach on them too, and they're not invited, you know. I can't imagine anybody inviting them, but people with addiction, they kind of, those, you know, alcohol, it kind of like things there are at field, so things are able to attach. And not that you shouldn't have a beer or something, but you know, you want to do it, you know, responsibly and within, you know, that you're still okay to drive, kind of thing, maybe. But yeah, you know, another thing that I ran into that was totally blew my mind. I mean, I've always been, you know, that there's the white side of paranormal, which is the beautiful part of death and dying. And then there's the dark part of paranormal, which is the stuff we've been talking about. But there's another element. And I always was into the paranormal stuff, the death and dying stuff, the afterlife and all sorts of those things. And my sister passed away in June of last year, and I inherited her house. Well, I remember my sister talking about that she thought there was a spirit in the house, and even though she cleared it and did all of these things, it just didn't seem to leave. So when I inherited the house, I had my son and we went through the house and blessed it. I use a fire component. I go through the house with a fire lit pan with a component with chemicals in it that, with the oxygen in the air that feeds the fire, whatever doesn't want to leave gets sucked into the fire and gets stuck in the bottom of the pan. And so we went through the house and did that. And of course we got a few things, and my sister being sick, it picked up all of the negativity and the illness and also sucked it into the pan. But yet there was still this thing in the house that was menacing, and doing things in the house. And I was actually upstairs in my sister's room in the third bedroom where her filing cabinet was. And I'm going through her filing cabinet trying to find important papers. Mm-hmm. And there was this rock sitting on her top of her filing cabinet with her crystals. And it was an ugly rock. I mean, it was like the size of my hand, but it was kind of heart-shaped. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to toss this, So I went to pick it up, and the energy that came out of that rock made my mouth burn. I mean, I could feel it in my teeth, like shot up my arm, and I immediately dropped it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not going to touch that again. We'll just kind of leave that there for a while. I don't know what the deal is with it, but maybe it's a meteor or something, something I had no idea. It was just this ugly, ugly rock. But the thing is that my son and I were standing talking. He's standing in the doorway of the master bedroom. I'm standing in the hallway bedroom. And all of a sudden, out of this third bedroom where that rock was, I see this little thing under 3 feet tall. And this is after we've cleared the house. Mm-hmm. Walk past me, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, oh my God, that looks just like the banker on Harry Potter. He walks past my son into the master bedroom, and my son says, and I didn't say anything, I'm thinking this. My son says, did you just see Hogwarts go by?
Wow.
I saw him too. And since then, I've had 2 groups come to the house that have also seen him, because he presents at the gate. They're different than ghosts. He's a fae. Ghosts will sometimes linger and kind of watch to see what you're going to do first. Not him. The fae will meet you right at the gate when you come in. Right. They don't give a crap. It's their property and you're intruding. Right. So they're in your business.
Yeah.
So so then he comes back out and he goes back to the third bedroom, and then he crosses in front of us again. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. I think it's a fae or elemental. So I reached out to Brian Bowden and Jim Rupert, who both do remote viewing. One was in Florida, one was in South Carolina. The house is in Louisiana that I was in my sister's house. I live in South Carolina, but her house is there. So both of them went in, and they were telling me that, and Katie Turner was involved also. I don't know if you know her, but she's amazing. That there was this being that lived underneath the house in the dirt and in the rocks that was coming up into the house via the stairwell into a bedroom, which that third bedroom, the way that the closet was built, it had extra storage space, like off on the side behind the wall, but that connected with the stairwell. So he was coming up into the room because that rock was his. And my sister had inadvertently picked up that rock and put it into the room. So the guys, so the guys told me, they said, he's coming into the house because there's something in that upstairs bedroom that is his. And I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly what it is. It's that rock. Yeah. It has to be, because I had just the night before had it tingle up my arm.
Right.
So so they told me, they said that I needed to take, not to touch it with my bare hand again, but to get it out of the house. And hopefully the thing would then stay outside of the house. But the thing about elementals and fae versus ghosts is they don't leave. You do. So either you have to make nice or leave, because they were there before you. And the religious things and prayer and all of that doesn't work on them, because they were created at the time that the earth was created, way before religion was even around. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we ended up my son took the rock out, and the little guy was flinging vines around his legs. And my son was like, man, my legs are so itchy. I said, I'm not surprised. He's flinging vines. He was trying to stop him because my son had the rock and he was taking it out. There's so much more that happened with this story. But the funny thing is we bartered with it. We told him that we put the rock in a shed in the back, that nobody would bother it. And we told him that we would give him tobacco and alcohol, and some pastry or something, which he loves beignets and Oreos. But if he would stay out of the house, because we didn't want that negative pull in there.
Sure.
And he was the one that he was calling me F-bomb, 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 like F-bomb you, F-bomb you, F-bomb you, real fast and tight together. He would stand in the stairs and he'd peek through this area that we have, and he would F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. He was so angry that we were there. The thing is so we told him when we would be leaving, and of course their time is not like our time. They don't really have their time. There is no time. But we said, when 3 moons pass, we will be leaving after that third moon, in his terms. So what happened is that when that day came, we noticed that there was a leak in the upstairs bathroom sink, and we had to end up staying over because it was a holiday and I couldn't get a plumber to come until like 7 o'clock that evening. And we were going to be gone for months. I mean, that would have made a huge hole in the first floor thing. So we had to stay. So my son and I, it's like, listen, I'm hungry. Let's go and get some good Cajun food. So we went to get some Cajun food, and then we came back. And the entity who we call Bob, I've asked him what his name is, and it's like blah, 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 and I can't pronounce blah, 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 blah. So I asked him, I said, so can I call you something else like Tim or Jim or Bob? And he said Bob was okay. So we call him Bob. But anyway, when we came in that door, my son and I, we heard him coming from the back of the house, and he was grumbling, and he sounded like the Tasmanian devil on Bugs Bunny, that, coming towards us. And I said, oh my God, he thought that we left. We need to tell him that we're staying one more day. So we apologized. We gave him all the treats that we said we were going to give him, held a couple of things back to say, in addition to that, we'll give you these. We need one more day. We're leaving tomorrow in the morning. So that night, my son was loading up my sister's truck that I was going to be driving back to South Carolina. And there were some heavy things that he was putting in there. And all of a sudden, I hear him out front yelling obscenities. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe he dropped something or hurt himself. So I'm rushing to the front door to see if I need to call an ambulance or something. And I opened the door, and my son's face is like right there. And I said to him, are you all right? What happened? And he said, what? And I said, you were yelling obscenities out there. Are you all right? He said, that wasn't me. And I said, well, did you hear that? And he said, no. So then the next morning, my son went outside. His battery was dead, so he charged it off of my truck, and he left the engine running to let it charge up a little bit. And then he was in the truck plugging in my phone so that I would be able to use my GPS, and because I didn't know where anything was on the truck to plug in even my charger. And all of a sudden, I'm out front on the front porch, and my son is in the truck, and I hear F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. And I thought it was my son. Yeah. So I go to my son. I walk over, the truck door is open, and I said, are you okay? And he says, yeah. And I said, so what are you cussing at? And he says, I'm not. Then we both hear F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. That Bob was at the shed and standing in the doorway that was opened, letting us know that he was waiting for his treats, because he kept his end of the bargain, and he didn't want for us to leave without keeping our word. Right. Yeah. So we then went back, and we left them with him and told him that he could then, go back in the house if he wanted to or whatever. Since then, he's become such a wonderful asset. Like I said, I've had groups out there that he's actually presented. They have seen him. So it is verified, not just by me, but people. Brian Bowden has seen him. Jim has come out. Brian Bowden didn't come to the house, but Brian Bowden saw Bob following me around at the Gettysburg Bash. I had several people come up to me and say, there's a little boy following you around, because he's short and he exudes male energy. Yeah. They assume that it's a child. But Jim came to the house, and he and his wife, and they actually saw him at the house. But I'm currently writing a book that is the 4th book in the Omnipresent series that's called Omnipresent Gnome, Place Like Home. And it's a story about meeting Bob and some of the beautiful things that I'm learning directly from him about the Fae and things like that. He told me that if you take a seed before you plant it and you expectorate on it, that the seed has the ability to analyze your saliva. And anything that your body has a deficit in, when you plant that seed and the vegetable or fruit grows, it will have the components in it that you are missing, so that when you eat it, it balances your body out.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's told
Okay.
me stories about the crystalline cities in the ocean and the bioluminescent beaches that the night fae come through with their mounds. I mean, stuff that there is just,
Wow.
the downloads just keep coming. And they told me that they would. And I'm like, really? You know, and I've even argued, I said, are you sure you want me to write this book? Because the more people find out about you, you could become like a genie in the bottle. You know, people are going to want you as a pet. I said,
Right.
and the thing is they have such a beautiful childlike wonder about them. They really, really do, because their hearts aren't tainted and they're not having to work and pay taxes and stuff like that. But he's become such an asset, and he's done such beautiful things in the yard. He takes crystals and places them where they're energetic bands of gold and silver and blue, and they're triangular instead of squares, but the yard looks like a quilt, only with triangles instead of squares. And they're portals for things to come through. And some of the things that he has brought through, the spirits, the bear spirits and deer spirits and things that you could see walking around at night. I have pictures of the night fae. I have pictures of a druid that are on the property that I could show you. I'm going to be putting them in my book. They're copyrighted. I don't mind sharing them, but you can't share them with anybody else if I do show you guys until the book comes out.
No,
but I'm telling you, you've never seen anything like this. I also have a book I want to mention too, because I know we need to close up here pretty quick. I have a book that's going into print that is the third book in my Omnipresent series, which is going to end up being 5 books. That's called 111 Becca Dawn Drive. And that book is a story about a ghost that was going from townhouse to townhouse, and 10 in a row, pulling down women's underwear and crawling in bed with them in the middle of the night. I have a picture. I call him Weenie Man, because he's the only naked ghost I've ever seen. You know, people, when they cross over and their loved ones come, they are enclosed. Nobody wants to see mom naked at the pearly gates, you know? So, and there really aren't pearly gates, but you know what I'm saying? He's the only ghost that I've ever seen that is naked. And the thing that's funny about this picture is he's got his hands over his Johnson. And, you know, here he is swinging in all of these houses, crawling in bed and pulling down these women's sheets and underwear, naked. But now he has his chance to have a picture taken, and he's bashful and wants to cover his junk. So anyway, I'll share that one with you too, if you want.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We're definitely, honestly, going to have you come back on, because honestly, I keep this show going. However, Monica Rollins, her show starts here in about 10 minutes. So,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We just try. We don't, step on.
We try to get off. Yeah, we don't want to step on anybody. Yeah,
but I definitely want to have you come back on though, because
I would love that. I would love that. And anybody that's listening that's interesting, I currently have I was on Gaia. It's streaming now on Gaia Beyond Belief. I did a show with George Norrie, and if anybody wants to see that, it is streaming now. So feel free to look it up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It has been fun just listening to all of your experiences. I was just like, wow, the whole entire show. So
right.
Thank you.
Definitely.
All right.
I want to thank BMR and Greg Ogles and Scott's Life. Thank you guys all very much. We appreciate that. And Brandy, do you have any closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts, I really don't have any tonight, because I've been just listening and enjoying the stories and listening to the wealth of knowledge. And but I just want to thank you, Lynn. It has been a great show. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. And we're going to absolutely have Lynn back and probably even get you on a few more of our friend shows too.
So, I would love that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So if you're out there and listening and you are not subscribed to Blondes and Booze, please do that now and hit that notification icon and hit the like button. Every little bit helps. And right. And tomorrow night, I just want to let everybody know, 7 p.m. Central, Blondes and Booze will be back on. And tomorrow night, we're going to be discussing the investigation we did at the Emmaus Village last weekend. I did clean up some EVPs and things that you'll be able to listen to, and you're going to be amazed by what I caught.
Yep, absolutely. And I just want to announce too, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. There will not be a Blondes and Booze show on Thanksgiving.
No show on Thanksgiving. I'm going to be eating and sleeping.
Me too. Me too. So
I'm gonna be
anyway,
cooking.
good night, everybody. We appreciate
Good night, everybody.
And once again, I don't have the closing on here, so we're just going to end it.
Hi, everybody.
See y'all.
Bye.